Joining us right now is Ray Grijalba from the Eucharistic Miracles film. Good morning to you, Ray.
Morning, Joe. How are you doing?
Praise be to God. I am alive, and that counts. How are you? I'm
doing great.
You know, I wasn't sure. I thought Angelo was going to be on with us, and I was going to be able to sympathize with Angelo. I'm in California this morning, so we usually, when we interview him, we force him to get out of bed, crack of dawn. Well, I came to California just so I can be there and suffer right along next to him today.
That's amazing. I'm on Eastern time. And,
wow, excuse me. The crack of noon over there. That must be nice.
There we go. Yes.
The trailer has come out for the Eucharistic Miracles movie. Tell us about this.
Yeah. So, man, it is so exciting. We released the live action teaser trailer. So this just kind of whets the appetite and lets you see some powerful scenes from John 6, the Last Supper, the whole boat journey and Peter falling into the water and everything like that. It is incredible. So Angelo worked so hard on that and used the connections he's built over the last 35 years to have, for instance, the editing done by a editor who works for Disney, incredible editor, color correction done by the head of color correcting for the Revenant movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. And it is incredible. I've loved to speak with people, and literally people telling me that they have goosebumps, they're in tears from seeing this. So wow. So grateful that all worked out, and it's incredible.
Yeah, I saw the trailer over on YouTube. For people who haven't seen it yet, where can they see the trailer?
Yep. So you can go to two places. We've chosen a theatrical title that will appeal to everyone as The New Manna. So if you go to The New Manna movie on YouTube, that's the channel specifically for that. You could also go to the Joy of the Faith and do it that way.
Joy of the Faith, or search for New Manna. Just as a follow-up question, we've interviewed you guys in the past before, but for people who haven't seen that interview, what inspired you to create this movie on Eucharistic Miracles?
Yeah, so Blessed Carlo Acutis was a huge driver into this, and I'd always been interested in miracles, and I said, man, someone needs to dive in and actually speak with the doctors and I guess go more in depth, right? Rather than just like accepting it blindly. I'm always someone that wants to see it and read it myself. So I literally just sitting on this couch, I would Zoom these doctors, and then Angelo saw that and he said, Ray, we need to make this a movie, take it to the next level. And that's what we've done. We went to Italy, Mexico, and Poland, interviewed doctors, witnesses, and we'll weave that in with the live action to create a movie on the Eucharist like there's never been done before.
Yeah, it's amazing to see. And it's been an exciting process and a journey, but a long one and a difficult one. Maybe share with us some of the especially now that you've filmed all these scenes for John 6. How hard was that to get all the puzzle pieces lined up and make that happen? Share some of the journey there.
Yeah, so John 6 was a great example of the challenge. It was literally the hardest scene to shoot from a logistic standpoint. There were others that were more difficult from a technical side, but we had almost 300 extras on site for that filming. We had to rent buses and like 15 passenger vans to shuttle people here and there. And then, of course, like direct them as to where to go for each scene and food and all those things like that. So it was down to workman's comp and everything. I mean, it was extremely challenging just to lead that many people with the small crew that we have, right? Normal productions have like lists of producers, and we just had, a couple of us. That's how we keep the cost low. And that's what's been really the game changer in this, because we've only done all this in a little under $300,000. So we're hoping that trailer will inspire people to bring us the amount needed to finish the production, because what many people don't realize is the post-production is what separates this movie from like your typical Christian movie, right? Editing makes all the difference. Music makes all the difference. And that is where even after we're done filming initially, there will be scenes that the editor's like, you need this to make this flow perfectly, and that's the stuff that I think will bring this movie to a whole new level and touch souls the way it never has. Plus the CGI transubstantiation and all of the animation behind that. I'm really excited for that.
So the trailer itself then, may not, that footage that we're seeing in the trailer could also not look 100% just like that in the final product. You're still in the process. You're still figuring all this out.
Yeah, so we are, I'd say we're around 90% done filming. But once the filming is done, the like post-production process is, okay, hey, like you hear typically, like even with the new Thor movie, they talked about reshoots with Christian Bale, right? And the whole thing was he didn't shave his head or whatever. So after filming's done, they're like, okay, we didn't get the shot. We need you to come back to do that shot. So that is what has what's taken the, I guess, more time. So what you saw in the teaser trailer is definitely not the final product. There's a lot more work that will be done from everything, from the audio side. The color correction will probably stay pretty close because we had an incredible professional on that. But weaving all these scenes together is definitely a challenging process, and one that takes it from just like, looks pretty good to breathtaking.
Wow. Well, that's very exciting. So how much, I want to ask a bunch of questions, but we're going to be at a break here in a few minutes, but about the actual, like how the recipe works here. But let's talk about the money for a second here. So you've had enough to get you to this point. How much more do you need to get over the finish line?
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. I'm going to say it here first. So there's a scene that we've wanted to do, but we basically eliminated it in our like initial crowdfunding stage. Where we're at now and the things that we're seeing, especially recently with like Speaker Pelosi and stuff, we had not initially planned to film the 1 Corinthians 11:27 scene where Paul says, "He who eats or drinks without discerning the body eats or drinks damnation upon himself." We think that is a key verse to be said. And St. Ignatius was, an early Christian and was literally mauled by lions in the Colosseum. And that is a scene that we basically removed because the challenges needed to actually get real lions. But that's one that we're embarking upon. So we don't have all of the estimates in, but basically to finish the film, we'll probably need at least 600,000 more. We don't have it's not a firm number yet. We're still working on that. But and that doesn't include any marketing or anything like that. So there's still a ways to go, and that would bring the total budget, much lower than $1 million. So that's pretty good for most films. I think the Roe versus Wade movie that recently came out was like $3 million, and that's totally a different lane than ourselves. So
well, then what about marketing then? Because you could have a fantastic film that nobody watches. You're going to want a marketing budget, right?
Yep. So we're working on that as well. We have a good business team that we've assembled to pull together those numbers. Angelo, of course, has connections. So he's speaking with producers like, hey, how much went into marketing for The Case for Christ? $8 million.
Oh.
Just for marketing. So this is where like the money concept is really like so foreign to so many people. Like $8 million? Are you serious? We haven't heard back from The Chosen. I'm sure it's somewhere in that number, but this is how you really bring the message to the world. So where so many people are like, all right, when is it going to be done? That's an important question. But the other question is like, how much do we have to bring this to the nations? Because only so much will happen virally. And it's going to be a large undertaking.
Yes, and an exciting one for sure. So do you still have a capital campaign up, I imagine? There's still you're always accepting donations on the website?
We are, yes.
The website is EucharisticMiraclesMovie.com. So maybe consider a contribution to the effort. It would be amazing. EucharisticMiraclesMovie.com. But don't go anywhere after the break. We're going to continue our conversation with Ray Grijalba here. And I want to ask about the secret sauce behind the scenes. How was the scourging scene filmed? I understand the Shroud of Turin was involved. I'd like to know more. We'll be right back because we've been talking about You've been talking about this. Angelo's been talking about this. We've had you guys on a few times. And it's been the project itself to this date, what, 2 years maybe?
Yep, September 2020 was when it began. So we've been at this for a while. So if anyone's wondering, everyone's like, oh, when will this be out? There's no one that wants to answer that question faster than you, than Angelo or I. So it's been a lot. But I know you mentioned the Shroud of Turin and the scourging. So Angelo has joined, and he'd be able to answer that question best because he had the great idea behind that.
the director of the film. It's good to have you on our program. Hopefully, you can hear us. Can you hear me, Angelo?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you guys now.
Oh,
yes,
wonderful. Yes. Good morning. Thanks for your time today. I'm in California too, so I'm suffering next to you right now. I'm in Anaheim at the moment, so getting up crack of dawn. Unlike your friend Ray there, who's practically noon for him, so.
Yeah. He already did the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's talk about the behind the scenes stuff. I'm a geek when it comes to movies. I like how they're made, and what goes into them. So tell me especially about the scourging scene. How did you make the scourging scene?
Yeah, so we are able to find this location. So we took some work to prepare. We had this great guy. He does mostly do sculpting work, but because of his background in sculpting and his passion on creating prosthetics, we kind of start to organize and say, look, we are to pulling this out. It's like, I'm glad that he's such a strong Catholic. His name is Peter. Really blessed name too. We decided to make a perfect replica for the Shroud of Turin. So we kind of they're almost like each different piece, each different scourging is almost like a tape that can be put with the glue it, but it requires hours and hours of putting, and it requires hours and hours to remove it. So it's not something that is okay. It's go in and out in 1 hour. It's done. It almost took a full day to put in on Rob, and then they after putting everything surrounding the right spot, need to after be colored and adding the blood and camouflage that piece of skin with the real skin. So it was definitely something like a really, really, really long. And as we were doing, we are prepping the set. But was one of the most, everybody on set, they said it was one of the most remarkable things, because right after the scourging, we had the priest that came along for doing mass. And everybody said that it was one of the things they will never forget for the rest of their life, because it's I witnessed the eyes and have this beautiful but harsh image on your eyes, on your mind, that then going to do mass and hear that this is my blood, this is my things, was definitely something something special.
Wow, praise be to God. That's exciting. How much did you take inspiration from the Passion of the Christ to film these scenes? Were you inspired by those? Did you try to do something different than those? Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's a yes and no. It's obviously you saw it, and I think the most remarkable things about the Passion of Christ was that they were bold enough for that specific time of the team that to actually show it, because nobody's done it. That element was important, but they really didn't inventing the wheel, because that was actually what was done. We actually made each single perfectly wounds, perfectly like what Christ was. We actually topped it, because it's like they just put a couple of random stuff. We made it a kind of way. Anybody can watch it. The video knows it. That specific one on the left, or that little bit on the bottom one, or down there, was how was on the Shroud of Turin, which is the most closest to do it. So how I didn't really reinvent the wheel, and I think every time you have your own set, your own acting, I was talking with some of my colleagues, the difference between making an animated movie where Spielberg, sometimes they say they have like hard times because the limit are the sky when you do a full animated movie. I mean, you can create anything you want. When you're on set, you are dealing with the location. They are dealing with the props you're allowed to buy and purchasing, and with the actors and their actor skills. And sometimes you are, for example, we had this great actor, this MMA fighter, Bas Rutten. So and he was playing the Roman soldier, right? So I have to acknowledge his skills and his things. And I when you set it, you are to morphing your script with who you have. And I mean, so obviously, if you have Brad Pitt, you are to allow him to say some lines. You cannot say, "Oh no, you don't do this." I mean, you can't micromanaging too much. So you have to be able to be flexible with who you have and how you do it. Sometimes a guy he was trying to do it and he hurt his shoulder, so now he cannot hurt it. He cannot whip anymore. So now you have to changing. You have to say, okay, I cannot call like a doctor and fix his shoulder because you're in the middle of nowhere. So, all right, so you don't do that anymore. So now you do it. I mean, and so it's like it's so funny. It's like The Passion was beautiful movie, but we cannot really copy. Nothing is done it. And I mean, it's like we have to just reading the scripture and try to see what St. Thomas de Aquinas did. I don't know what kind of. I know they try to do lots of for St. Catherine's Emmerich, but I don't know how much they study St. Thomas de Aquinas. How much I try to do perfectly what St. Thomas de Aquinas wrote it down, and then filling the gaps for what St. Catherine's Emmerich she say as well.
Yes, Angelo, I was thinking about this while you're speaking, and I had two questions. One was, do you have a theologian as or somebody on to be like your guide, your advisor for theology? And my other question is, in regards to the same thing, to the transubstantiation scenes, I know you don't want to reveal too much about what you're planning for the animation, but I am very intrigued. I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, this is great, but I really, really want to know what your plan is for the animation of how you're going to animate transubstantiation and how you mentioned looking at St. Thomas and Catherine Emmerich in terms of what your theology of how that's going to look like. So tell me about that.
Sure. They're really, really good questions. I mean, so first of all, I mean, I have amazing spiritual directors. I mean, I don't know if you guys know Father Rippinger. So I was blessed for good 8 years to having him coming here and doing some private theology classes for us.
Wonderful, praise
so knowing that one, I mean, now we're such a good friends. So every time I had this like a pile of St. Thomas de Aquinas books, which is called the Catena Aurea, which is like they are all the testimony down there. So I was going through each of that one and add that up to some form of script or some form of basic ideas. And then there was any question to do, I was texting or calling Father Rippinger and say, okay, what's down there? What this one means? I mean, it's like, can with this one be pushed to this level? Can you bring down this other way? So I think it's like it's a more getting what he already spoke in the past in all these years, learning from those writings, and sometimes it's like you are to allowed that kind of freedom when you're making art. That's something I was talking the other day with Ray too. It's even with some other new friends, so they start to helping out to raise the money. Art it's not like going to buy a car. I mean, you know perfectly how much cost, you know the model, you know everything, you do it. I mean, it requires some flexibility with who you have in set, with who you have down there. So lots of is improvise. I mean, this kind of stuff. I mean, so it's you have to be flexible. I mean, and taking, and I think, I mean, for us, we believe in God and the Holy Spirit. You have to sometimes we've been, me and Ray now, we are going through to refine some new location, because I mean, the one we were supposed to hoping to almost felt that everything was okay, got booked for the whole summer.
Oh, wow.
So now we say, okay, so God, it's on you, man. It's like you can't blame on me. So, you know, we didn't have the money before. Now we have some money for filming. Now that
we're out of time, unfortunately. We have to have you back, but let's help them raise the money they need so they can finish this project. Go to EucharisticMiraclesMovie.com. EucharisticMiraclesMovie.com. Check that out today. Ray and Angelo, God bless you and God love you. We'll be right back.